Good morning, everyone. My name is David Gaussoin, and I was born and raised in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm Picuris Pueblo, Navajo, and of French descent. I started making jewelry at a young age when I was about 8 years old. My primary mentor was my mother, Connie Tsosie-Gaussoin, who was a master in her own right. When I began making jewelry, she taught all of her children the basics, and it was mostly Southwest style Native American jewelry that you're all familiar with, concho belts, wash blossoms, turquoise, etc. I did that for many years, but also during those years of discovery, I found that it was not quite who I was. I continued to make that jewelry all through high school, and in college, I decided to take a trip throughout Europe. I saved my money, and I traveled Europe for 3 months. I started in the countries of Norway and Finland, and traveled on the train all the way down to Italy. I bring this up because it was a pivotal point in my jewelry career. It showed me that artists in Europe are not afraid to use any kind of materials available to them, and they were fearless in their execution and style. It encouraged me when I came back home to just start doing my own thing. In the Southwest, we tend to put ourselves in boxes, and we allow collectors and mentors to put us in boxes as well. When I started doing my own thing as a jeweler and using different materials that I had never used before, I took a lot of criticism. A lot of my longtime collectors told me, "Why are you doing this? Why can't you just be a good Indian and do concho belts and wash blossoms and use your turquoise? You know, your ancestors have cultivated this style for years." I thought about it and I thought, you know, my ancestors, it is our tradition to use whatever materials that come into our area and use them the best we can. That's how we became metalsmiths, and that's how we started using pearls and all kinds of materials that came into our area. So I told my critics, I'm just doing what my ancestors have done for years and years. So with that, you know, I just started doing my own thing, and I laugh and say, my mother, I really have to give a lot to her. Excuse me. She encouraged me, and she could have put a stop to it, and she could have said, "No, David, just go back to doing what we're supposed to do." But she told me, because she herself was criticized as a woman, because in those days, women were not supposed to be jewelers. In the Southwest, women are supposed to be potters and rug weavers. Man's work is jewelry work. And she told her critics, no, this is what I was born to do. So she understood, you know, this is what I needed to do in my path. I also taught jewelry at the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, and the Santa Fe Community College, and the Poe Art Center in Picuris Pueblo. My mother also encouraged me to share my technique with others, because her father was a teacher at IAIA. He was a master carpenter. And a lot of people always told me, aren't you afraid you're creating your own competition? And I told them, no, I just pass on technique. Design comes from your head, and people can't get in your head, you know, to see what you're going to produce. They can only copy what you've already done. So it keeps you fresh, and it keeps you alive as an artist to teach others and share your craft. My jewelry is bold, it's a statement, and it's sculptural. I enjoy making sculpture for the body. This is also what drove me into fashion. Some of my collectors told me, it's not enough, David, to put your pieces out on a table. People need to see your work on the body. So in the beginning, I started working with designers like Patricia Michaels, who was on Project Runway, and Pilar Arroyo. And it was wasn't enough for me to just put my jewelry on their designs, because we were both always competing with each other. They wanted to show off their clothes, I wanted to show off my jewelry. So I remember a long time ago, my grandmother had taught me embroidery, like the jacket I'm wearing. And I thought, I can sew. And so I just started designing my own clothes. That way it would complement the jewelry that I make. I worked with my sister, David Gaussoin, who is now a curator at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. And she would help me with my patterns. She would cut out my patterns for me, and I would then sew the pieces. And that's how I started doing fashion. I really never thought I would get into learning about hair and makeup and all these other things that you do with fashion shows, but I really enjoyed it. My designs and my inspiration come from my surroundings. Even though I'm a contemporary progressive jeweler, I'm still very rooted in my native traditions. I was brought up very traditionally in my native pueblo of Picuris Pueblo, which is a small mountain village in northern New Mexico. There's only about 350 of us left. I was taught at an early age that my culture, my language, my ceremonies are not a marketing tool, and we are not to use them for sale. They belong to us and our people, and they're to be carried on by different generations. So I think because of that, I knew early on that I had to just start doing my own thing and just expressing myself in a different way. You can see in my designs there are influence of my native tradition and culture, but it's not specifically replicated like the breastplates and stuff that we wear when we dance. I'm still a very traditional person in my mind and my heart, but as an artist, I'm not. I think what happens in the Southwest is a lot of us get pigeonholed because you're a native artist. You have to do traditional native art. I respect those at home that still carry on those traditions because they are the reason that I am here today. They are the ones that have brought my craft forward. But I also feel that it's my purpose as a young native artist to keep pushing forward for other young generations who are going to come after us. One thing that I would really like to get across today is all of you that are out there who have any influence or who can lift up our stories. What happens in the Southwest is we hit a wall. We go as far as we can with the different art shows like the Santa Fe Indian Market and the Herd Museum, who have done really wonderful to help us. But then once we hit that top, we don't know where to go. We don't know where our craft belongs. For years and years, I've struggled with this. Do I just go back to making turquoise and concho belts because that line has already been trailblazed for us and we know how to follow it? But when you're a progressive craft person in the Southwest, we don't know where we're supposed to go. We don't know of other shows and museums out there that accept this kind of work. So it'd be really helpful for all of you who do know that to please share that with all the young native artists of the Southwest. I just really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you all today and to share some of my work as well as my family lived experience with you. One thing that my mom really instilled in all of us is to always share your story, share your techniques, share your designs with anyone and everyone who will listen to you. Because, that's how we get to know each other and that's how we learn from each other. I'm just here to not just help myself and speak about myself, but to also lift up all the young native artists back home. There's a lot of really amazing things that are going on right now. And in my time, I'm not that old, but it was hard. A lot of people didn't like what we were doing and they wanted us to stay back. But now I feel there's support for young native artists to express themselves however they choose and feel is the most appropriate way. You know, it's just been a really interesting journey for me. And even though I've had a lot of critiques and criticism, I'm glad that I did, because I always laugh and tell my students back home, it made me the person who I am. If people didn't question me and question what I was doing with my work, I probably wouldn't have done what I'm doing today, because I took that criticism as fuel to prove that I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm capable of. And I know that as long as I just stay true to myself and my design and my work, I can do whatever I want. That last piece was called Weapon of Mass Destruction. It's a statement piece on, you know, people saying, your jewelry's too big, it's gonna catch on my sweater. And I laugh and say, well, maybe you shouldn't be wearing my jewelry with your sweater. There's another piece that may or not have scrolled by. It's a bracelet with a little plastic Indian in a box, and that's another statement about what I've been talking about. People have been trying to put me in my box, and I just keep fighting to get out of it. And it may sound like, God, this guy's gone through a lot of struggle, but it's real. You know, we all go through our own personal struggles, and I leave that with you and encourage you. If you feel that you're not where you want to be, your work is not where it needs to be, or you're not getting the material that you need, do it, find it, do whatever you have to do to achieve what you want in your work. Don't let people hold you back. Don't let people tell you, stop doing that. You're supposed to be doing Indian jewelry. You're supposed to be doing this and that. You know, break those boundaries, because our ancestors, all of us have ancestors that have worked hard to get us where we are today, and you need to honor them by continually moving forward. Respect the past, but move forward. At this time, I would like to thank SNAG for having me here speak to you today. I would also like to thank my longtime friend, Patrick, and his parents with Ornament magazine, because they have also been very instrumental in lifting my story up and the different stories of the Southwest. If you're ever in Santa Fe, New Mexico, please look me up, and I'll probably invite you to feast and to come over and eat, because that's what we do as Pueblo Indians. We like to eat, and you can come watch our traditional dances. I would also like to thank my mother, Connie Tsosie-Gaussoin. Look her up, Google her. She's a very traditional artist, but she's persevered over the years, and she's really, sorry, she's been injured lately. Her shoulders have 2 torn rotator cuffs, and she can no longer do jewelry. But she's still trying. I would also like to thank my family. They've really supported me over the years, and especially my partner, Rod Lambert, who's sitting up in the balcony there. He has really been my sole support, and he believes in what I do. And as an artist, I know you can all appreciate this. Just having someone believe you and encourage you on your journey and your work is the biggest struggle. You know, if you know an artist out there and you think they're crazy and off the wall in their work, encourage them. You'll be surprised where they go. Thank you very much.